Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a show for you. It's not a great one. All right, I'm going to have to do a report card, and I went ahead and put a trigger warning on there for some folks. And look, if you're the type of person that you get easily triggered and things upset you and all that kind of stuff, you're probably going to want to do this.
Just walk away.
That's right, just walk away, because I don't want you getting all upset and going crazy in the comment section. And before you go, I do have a participation trophy for you. I do thank you for showing up. All right, for the rest of us, let's get into this. For the first time in 2 years and 2 games, Josh Heupel had to do something that he's never done. He gave up the forward pass. And the forward pass has been pretty important over the last 80, 90 years, but it just wasn't working out for us. In the first 8 passes, Joe was 1 for 8. He didn't play well. The wide receivers didn't help him out. But honestly, if you're off a little bit and you're throwing the ball at that speed, it's really hard to catch those passes. Because if they're here, if they're coming in at pretty good RPMs, you can still probably catch most of those. But if it's coming in hot, it needs to be right there. And that's just the reality of it. And let's face it, these wide receivers, most of them are the same guys that we had last year that caught everything. But Hendon was throwing, a very catchable ball. I don't know how catchable some of these passes are. They're coming in there blistering. So anyway, that's unfortunate. But hopefully he gets it turned around. If anybody can turn him around, it's Josh Heupel. But Heupel just decided to start throwing behind the line of scrimmage. And he did that for the entire rest of the game pretty much. The first 8 passes, like I said, were 1 for 8. So that was a pretty rough start. And then the passes that were all behind the line of scrimmage, he was 10 for 11. So, his numbers wound up okay at the end of the day, but as far as any of the passes that were over 10 yards, there was just almost nothing. Just nothing worked out. And Heupel said there was a bunch of open guys out there like there always is, but they just weren't getting hit. And like I said, the receivers weren't helping them that much. It was just kind of a mess, honestly. And it doesn't bode well for next week. But, maybe this is a wake-up call, and we'll see what happens. But it definitely was an unfortunate game. But let's get into some of these stats. Obviously, 30-13, we know all about that. As you can see, Joe's numbers wound up okay, 21 for 33. He hit on a ton of passes behind the line of scrimmage and wound up with 228 yards. His QB rating was 36, which is poor. So not solid there. I'm just going to go ahead and start out with the grade on that. I'm going to give him a C-. And I think, honestly, he'd give himself a C probably at best. He knows he didn't play well. And that's unfortunate. He knows what he's capable of. Every athlete knows what they're capable of doing, and they know when they've played poorly. And, I'm sure Joe is probably as hard on himself as anybody. That's very typical of an athlete. But that's way below his standard. So he's going to have a heart-to-heart with himself on this one, no doubt. Our running backs, Jalen Wright had a great game, super solid, 13 for 118 yards. Jabari Small, 13 for 95, 228 yards. I'm just going to give the running backs a good solid A. I thought they played well. Jalen's exactly what we thought he was, and great game last week and this week. He's just a super solid player. Jabari Small's excellent. We didn't see as much of Dylan Sampson in this one, but over 200 yards rushing, second week in a row.
Again. So
a good solid A for them. The wide receiver core, as you can see, 228 yards on 21. They didn't play so well. I just was not impressed with them. McCastle's had that one great catch, which was only about a 4-yard pass, but it wound up going 43 yards, which was sort of the standard of the day. Wide receivers, I'm going to give them a C, maybe something like that, probably a C. I think they'd grade themselves that way too. Just not their best. So just a very average score there. I think that's the worst rating I've given the wide receivers in over 2 years. So unfortunate. The offensive line was solid the whole game. I'm going to give them a B or a B+. Probably a B+. Only 1 sack. They ran the ball well. They gave Joe time. I was pretty pleased with them, and they're doing it without their fearless leader, Cooper Mays. So I'm going to give them a rock-solid B+. I think that's fair. Now let's get into the defense. The defense had 7 sacks. That is fantastic. They played so well the entire game. They, of course, held us in when our offense was just struggling something awful, and we only had 6 points in most of the first half to like the last minute. 6 points against Austin Peay. And the defense they just took over the game and kept Austin Peay from being able to do much of anything while we were doing our 3 and outs. So I couldn't be more pleased with the defense overall. I'm going to give them an A, even though I know towards the tail end they weren't doing as well, but they were out there so much. Austin Peay had the ball for 40 minutes out of a 60-minute game. And like I said, we just went out there and did 3 and out, 3 and out. At some point, your defense is going to get tired. But they kept us in there the entire first half, and every time we needed them, they came through. So I'm gonna give them an A. I'm just a B+ at worst. But the defense has really improved over last year. I mean, we now have 11 sacks in the first 2 games, so that's fantastic. And look at the tackles for loss. 14 in that game. They lived in the backfield. Literally, they were getting their mail back there. They were back there so much. Now, we did have one player, Aaron Beasley. Man, did he play well. He had 9 tackles, 8 solo. He had 2 sacks. He had 5 tackles for loss. He was flying around that field with Superman cape on. He had a fantastic game, and I'm going to give Aaron Beasley the special award and this grade. Exactly. He was the A+++ guy. So good for Aaron Beasley. He was kind of the general out there, too. I couldn't be more pleased with his play, and he deserves that grade. Special teams, they were okay. You had D. Williams had 2 returns, 18 yards. Campbell was 3 for 3. He was great. He played really well, I thought. Jackson Ross was okay. Did have that one bad kick, but he had several. He had 43-yard average, so he was better than last week. So special teams, I'm going to give them like a B+. With Campbell going 3 for 3 like that, he pushed them up pretty good, so we'll give them a B+. Now, as far as coaching, I think this was the worst coached game of the Heupel era. And before anybody starts going crazy and losing their mind, we got to think about whether we need a new coach. And there's a few lunatics out there that are going to think that. And look, you're always going to have some numbskulls. But what they really need to do is this. Shut up! Exactly. Shut up. Because Josh Heupel is a fantastic coach. He's the best coach in the country, especially for us. And he can only do so much. Look, he schemed up the guys open. He can't throw the ball from the sideline, and he can't catch it either. He can't do everything. He tries. I'm sure. He probably could. He could throw the ball anyway. Guy who finished second in the Heisman and won a national title. But, unfortunately, that was not a good coached game. I mean, he had to give up the forward pass. That was a pretty important invention, and I think we need to use a little bit more, but he just decided it wasn't going to work out anymore. So he abandoned it, which maybe that was a good thing. But I'm going to give the coaching staff this overall grade.
C+? C+?
Yep, I've never given our coaching staff in the last 2 years and 2 days anything close to that bad a rating. C+. I can't believe it. I didn't even think it's possible. I think the worst I've ever graded them is a B. Even when actually, I might have given them a C+ in that South Carolina game. I might have given them C+ then. So I take that back. This was just a very poorly played game, and I don't know. I'm very frustrated, and I'm on the fence with our quarterback situation. I'm sitting squarely on the fence again. I had come off the fence. I was comfortable with Joe. I am squarely back on the fence right now, and until I see better play, we need to have our backups ready to go in case they're needed. Sorry, I know that's going to upset some of you. I'm not saying replace him. I'm just saying you need to have your backups ready to go. And I'm sorry they're not getting any live game reps. That's part of the problem. But you got to be able to throw forward passes in this offense. And if the guys are open, the quarterback's got to hit them, period. And I know I'm going to take some grief in the comment section over that for saying that. But look, I'm going to keep it real with you, and I'm concerned. And I'm going to leave it at that. All right, folks, hopefully you weren't one of those people that got triggered. But anyway, it is what it is. We got a big week coming up, Florida week, biggest week of the year in some respects. Certainly the first half of the season is hinging on this. And I'm not feeling near as good as I was 2 days ago. That's for sure. We'll see how it rolls. But if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's be able to continue to cover the Vols, the SEC, all our opponents, and all that good stuff. If you've not subscribed, it's right here on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I'd appreciate it. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.